Hi everybody, so today we're going to be addressing burnout in athletes. What is burnout? Burnout is the brain's response to chronic stress of continued demands in a sport without the opportunity for physical and mental recovery. Burnout is a syndrome of continuous training and sport attention. So your body and your brain both need rest in order to be 100%, in order to feel focused. And when you don't give your brain and your body that, you start to feel burnt out, tired, annoyed, leveling off or diminished performances, higher heart rate and blood pressure, difficulty in concentration, whether that be with practice, your game, class or work, whatever it may be, you will have a difficulty in concentration. Another thing that you may experience is illnesses from a suppressed immune system. When you aren't giving your body enough rest and enough sleep, your body begins to break down your immune system and you are more susceptible to getting sick. Disinterest and moodiness and irritability, low self-esteem, increase in depression and anxiety. I know a lot of people feel burnt out from their sport, and they recognize that when they start to feel depressed. Usually a lot of people's sports bring them happiness. Sometimes when you push yourself too hard and you aren't giving your body and your brain the rest that you need to give it, sometimes you start to feel depressed. You start to become very anxious, very worrisome. How to treat burnout. So the number one thing is to not overtrain. A lot of college athletes tend to, work out twice a day, plus practice, plus all their schoolwork that they have to get done. And you can't overdo yourself, because then you are going to get burnt out. Number 2, coaches and strength staff should modify workouts in terms of intensity and length of training sessions. I know a lot of coaches do have an issue with just saying, push yourselves, mind over matter. It is your mind over matter, but eventually your mind is going to get burnt out and it's going to not want to work. And so you have to do what you need to do for yourself, but also your coaches should be able to know, okay, my team is starting to feel burnt out, we're starting to not work as hard, and it's showing with our record, or our work ethic on the field, or court, or whatever it may be. So then the third time is just rest and time away from your sport. I know I've said it multiple times today, but your brain and your body all need rest no matter what. You can say, oh, well, I never rested in high school, I had all these sports, I was a dual sport athlete. It doesn't matter, you still need it, and if you don't give it, you're going to get burnout. And thank you.
Hi, my name is Nolan Santos, and I am a part of the Addressing Burnout group. I'm going to be discussing with you my article that I chose concerning the topic of burnout, Understanding Student Athlete Burnout by the NCAA Sports Science Institute. And I would like to start by talking about what is burnout and who's affected by it. Burnout is a state of mind that is felt and experienced by a lot of athletes in sports and in general. It's in a study done by colleges is 34.9% of women athletes will experience burnout throughout college, and 37.9% of male athletes will experience burnout throughout college. And if that comes from overtraining, exhaustion, mental fatigue, and all of this burden on an athlete begins to their breakdown process. Once an athlete reaches the end of this process, that is when they experience the loss in motivation and the want and need to play their respective sport. And this is very common in a lot of veteran athletes, because of their coaches expecting them to take more of a burden, almost act as a coach, a second coach, an assistant coach, because of their status and how long they may have been there. High profile athletes are typically put in a lot more high stress situations, bigger games with bigger crowds. And this could put a lot of stress on higher profile athletes' mental mental space, and how they feel about themselves, especially if they fail in a possible big moment. And uh, this burnout in general is apparent in athletes in all of competitive sports, and it's a very much big problem that most coaches and student athletes aren't aware of possibly happening in their career. So first, you got to really understand student athlete or athlete burnout. Um, a little bit from the straight from the article here is there is a school of thought in American sports today that more is better. And that's very true. It's very true. More money, more everything. Parents and coaches dream of spoils from athletic success. They think that starting them younger, specializing them in a sport will give them an advantage over other athletes that don't have the money and don't get to start as soon, don't have as good equipment throughout their careers. They don't think they can benefit like their kid can. But in the end, all this cutting edge physical training and pressure to achieve more and grow and with no consideration of the athlete, this leads to burnout and a passion that once was to slowly die out, because all that is expected of them is to work more, and no matter what they achieve, they always have to do more after that, and it's endless for these kids, and that can cause burnout in a lot of athletes today. Understanding a little more is the direct, why are they playing, their motivations. And another little bit from the article, youths in our culture typically get involved with sports for intrinsic reasons like having fun, learning new skills, getting exercise, and making new friends. And that's so true, especially in kids that are younger. They love to play sports because it is fun. That's where they finally find their friends and they find their passion and what they want to do. They have their big dreams of becoming a professional in their sport and what they want to do. And that's when it's fun. But as athletes have grown and developed their skills and physical prowess and everything like that, their motivations become materialistic. They want the championships, the trophies, the status, the money, and that takes the joy out of competitive sports, and it isn't what they originally were there for. And that feeling of materialism and needing to obtain that next trophy can make them feel trapped in obtaining success, and this can really lead, this is a very big problem in leading to burnout, and something a lot of people don't realize, that their need that they feel is actually detrimental to their health and mental health, and them failing to achieve this need is can lead them down a bad path of burnout, and it's not good for an athlete. And so what is the solution to this? And that is such a simple answer. Another little really true bit that I really took from this article was, as Reynolds in 2008 put it, there is no mystery about the prescription for treating burnout. It's rest, rest, and more rest. That's no secret. Athletes need rest, and an entire season could be a long time, and they need rest after that period of time, especially when they go so hard and coaches expect so much, parents expect so much. They need to understand that can really burden their athletes, and a rest period is needed for them to, truly give them their all when they do need to come back for a season. And just a boost to helping this is, coaches need to become more aware of their players. They need to become more emotionally intelligent and need to be able to pick up on social cues that can tell if an athlete is experiencing burnout or a lack of motivation, and they need to be there for their players to know that it's not a business. It's not because the coach needs to win. It's because they want to make them better and the best athlete they can be. And an athlete needs to place a higher priority on their own mental health. That's how a athlete is going to improve themselves more after the physical. They need to improve their mental prowess, and that can only be done if they actually place a priority on it and can recognize when that mental is dying off and they need to figure it out. And yeah, thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Andrew Ball, and this is my presentation on the article that I read about athlete burnout and mental interventions. Firstly, what is athlete burnout? Athlete burnout is when an athlete feels a reduced sense of accomplishment and they devalue their own achievements in their sport. They are no longer performing up to their personal standards, and this is likely due to high levels of mental and physical fatigue. Athlete burnout has a multitude of causes. However, usually the root cause is overtraining and both constant levels of pressure from themselves and constant levels of pressure from people around them, such as coaches, parents, and peers. Common signs of burnout include losing interest in their sport and having a large level of physical and mental fatigue, as well as mood swings specifically about their sport. So one day they might wake up and feel very excited and hopeful about their sport. And the next day they might wake up feeling dejected and feel as though they will never be good enough to achieve that at the level that they would like to. So how can we treat burnout? Psychological interventions are one way that is being explored to treat athlete burnout, as it is a common phenomenon within many young and older athletes. Burnout comes from a multitude of sources, but almost all of these sources can be taken care of through psychological training, as well as a reduction in the volume of physical training, if that is one of the causes of the athlete's burnout. The article that I read specifically discusses using cognitive behavioral therapy and mindfulness-based interventions, and both of these methods were shown to be very effective in the healing of athlete burnout. Cognitive behavioral therapy has the object of replacing irrational thoughts with rational ones. So in an athlete's case, an athlete might think that they will never achieve what they can, no matter what. But the object of cognitive behavioral therapy would be to replace this irrational thought of the lack of achievement and the impossibility of achievement with a rational one of, well, if they work hard enough and they follow the proper procedures, they will achieve what they would like. The object of this therapy is to reshape the thinking of the athlete and to reinvigorate them, to show them that just because they are feeling this way now doesn't mean that it's accurate to their situation and that it is permanent. Interestingly enough, according to the studies discussed in the article, online cognitive behavioral therapy is more effective than in-person cognitive behavioral therapy in this generation of children. It is not discussed about the reasons why. However, my own personal thoughts on this matter are that young athletes feel that it is easier to discuss things through a screen and they can comprehend and regurgitate what they are thinking to these professionals when they meet online versus in person. They can be a little bit more nervous and more reluctant to share. Mindfulness-based interventions focus on discussing with the subject how valuable the present is. Specifically in athletes, mindfulness can be having them focus on where they are and how they got there and how special it is that they are there. Whether it is Little League or college athletics, many children or young adults will often feel burned out and they will not understand how much of an achievement it is to get to the point that they are. Mindfulness-based interventions aim to show the athlete that they have reached a very important spot and they can keep growing because of where they are now. Where they are now does not limit them, and how they feel now does not limit them. They can look towards the future and appreciate what they have now, and hopefully they can begin to reshape their flawed thinking that they cannot achieve more. The conclusions drawn in the article are twofold. Firstly, that burnout should be addressed after it occurs, not letting the athlete quit on their sport and helping them achieve their highest human potential. It is surmised in the article that many people have lost their ability to achieve their highest human potential because they have felt burned out by their sport. And secondly, the way to achieve the healing of burnout is likely through psychological solutions, because burnout is ultimately a mental phenomenon, and it is important to fix the quote unquote broken part of an athlete that is causing them to feel this way. The article is hopeful that psychological solutions can continue to be implemented, and hopefully young athletes can achieve what they set out to in the first place. The article I read was Burnout and Mental Interventions Among Young Athletes, a Systematic Review and Meta-Analysis of the Studies. This article was written by the U.S. National Library of Medicine in 2022 and analyzed studies from 2002 all the way up until 2022 to determine its conclusions. Thank you. Our thought question for this presentation was, if you have ever experienced burnout in a sport or other activity that you're participating in, sports or things like musical instruments or any hobbies that you might have. Did you personally find a way to resolve burnout if you have felt it before? And based on our presentation, how would you personally suggest that somebody does resolve their burnout? Personally, I have experienced burnout in a musical instrument. I was a trumpet player in middle school band, and I was feeling a lot of pressure from both myself, my parents, and all the people in band to highly achieve, and that caused me to no longer be interested in band. Unfortunately, I was not surrounded with the resources that I feel like a person needs who is experiencing burnout to resolve that burnout. I think that the best way for somebody to resolve their own personal burnout is to talk with their friends and remember to be mindful that where they are is important, and just because they are not feeling like they are achieving things or not feeling like enough in their activity doesn't mean that those things are true, and just to appreciate what they have currently, and maybe to stop putting so much pressure on themselves and to not allow others to put as much pressure on themselves either.